Hello and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the first, as far as I know, Powerpuff Girls / MoJo JoJo recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
So there isn't really any new PPG news this week. So if you want, we can start getting into discussing our first episode. We're covering Boogie Frights and Abracadaver today.
Okay, so these episodes were originally broadcast in the U.S. December 16th, 1998. The title is a play on the song Boogie Nights by Heatwave. There's also a movie by that name. Instead of the boogeyman, we've got a villain who likes to boogie. He is voiced by the distinct, deep-voiced Kevin Michael Richardson. At the start of this episode, the city of Townsville is preparing its children for bedtime. Blossom says that they must be well rested, but Buttercup complains that all the fun stuff happens after dark. Bubbles is afraid of the dark and monsters under the bed, especially the boogeyman. Professor Utonium says bravery is doing what you are afraid to do. So once he closes the door and leaves it cracked open so there's a little light coming in, we hear disco music coming from under their bed, and there is a monster party. The monsters don't like the light. We see the boogeyman, who to me looks like a bluish-gray, wrinkly frog. I had some other names for what he looks like, but we won't discuss that. He has sharp teeth and thin, white, crooked horns and orange and red sunglasses, plus he's wearing these killer monster white disco boots. The boogeyman has a plan, and he and his monster friends cut off the electricity, plunging Townsville into darkness. The creatures all come out from their hiding places, and the Townsvillians are terrified. The boogeyman pulls up in a white stretch limo and suit, and he has a cane. They all party, but the sun will be up soon. Boogeyman says he has a plan, and he launches a giant disco ball to block the sun so the night can last forever. Blame it on the boogie. The monsters wreak havoc. It's too noisy to sleep, so the girls investigate at the Nightmare nightclub. They begin to beat up the monsters, but there are too many. They meet the boogeyman and realize they need to take out the disco ball. So here there are many references to Luke Skywalker destroying the Death Star as in Star Wars. The boogeyman is Darth Vader, and his limo turns into a ship. Bubbles is Luke, while Buttercup and Blossom play Han and I guess Chewbacca, and shoot the boogeyman so that Bubbles can get a clear shot. The professor is Obi-Wan, telling Bubbles, if you can just face your fears, you can defeat the boogeyman. Bubbles is able to take out the disco ball and reveal the sun. The narrator heralds that the literal day is saved, but the girls shush him so they can finally get some sleep. So I meant to say at the beginning that this is one of my all-time favorite episodes because of the wordplay, the callback to Star Wars, the music, just all the creatures, the details, and I like the voice of the boogeyman. And I like to point out how we see that, they're just little girls. So we started out with them having bedtime just like the other little kids in Townsville have. And I always like that where Buttercup is trying to get Bubbles' goat, and Bubbles clutches her stuffed goat because she doesn't quite get what getting your goat means. And I like that line. It's got a good beat and you can dance to it also. So my question for this episode is, were you ever afraid of the dark or of monsters under the bed or in your closet? I guess I've always had what I would call a healthy fear of the dark, but I don't really think I was scared of like monsters in the closet or under the bed until like I was 12 and I watched the It miniseries, and there's like, I think specifically some scenes with monsters coming out from under the bed.
Oof.
And so then for a little while there after watching that, I was scared.
I am the chicken of all time. I'm still afraid of the dark, and a lot of the times I don't even like to have my limbs dangling off the side of my bed just in case something grabs me. I thought I was getting over my phobia of the dark, but then I saw the, I believe it's a two-parter. I can't think of the episode right now, but it's a Doctor Who episode where they're in the library with the Vashta Narada. And if you would step into a shadow a certain way, there's these creatures there that basically would eat you like a piranha. And so that just kind of made that come all back. And so I probably watched that the first time like 10 years ago. I'm not as twitchy about it, but I'm still like, I would watch out if something looked like it had double shadows and try to avoid it. Some things I would like to say about the episode. I think it's one of Kevin Michael Richardson's best roles. I think it's too bad that the Boogeyman wasn't a recurring villain because he was so good in the episode. I also enjoy that they're disco monsters. I feel like they would be more fun than scary if I did come across them under my bed. I also like the part about getting Bubbles' goat. And what Bubbles should have been worried about was the alligator, because then Buttercup grabs that instead when they go to the bed. And one other thing is that, according to Netflix's subtitles anyways, the mayor's name is Barney, which I noticed that his wife would say his name, but I could never make out what she was saying. I almost thought maybe she said Marty. So that was kind of interesting to me to finally have that solved a little bit.
I had looked up like just the definition of boogeyman, and it's an imaginary evil being that scares children, but this guy is like boogie, like likes to boogie man. So boogie is a style of blues, but it can also mean to dance or to go fast, like let's boogie down to the grocery store or something. You're going fast. So I do like that there's different definitions of what maybe could be meant by boogeyman.
Yeah, I like that they went with a pun there too. Which the next episode, which I'm covering, is Abracadaver. That's also one that is a good pun to me because Abracadaver sounds like he could be like a character in Venture Brothers. And the characters in there always have, like, excellent villain names. So, we start off, the narrator calls Townsville a magical town as the mayor, Cerebellum, and the girls gather at the Magic Theater. The mayor tells the girls the story of Allusion's last performance when he was a boy. The mayor, that is, not Allusion. I also thought it was funny that the mayor still has a monocle even as a small child. He's probably like the Powerpuff Girls' age then, but he's rocking the monocle. Allusion calls a young girl as sweet as any of you Powerpuff Girls to help with his trick and vanished her stuffed bear. Distraught, the girl pantsed Al and revealed to everyone that he was a phony magician. Everyone laughed at him as all his tricks fell out of his pants, and overcome with rage, Al fell backwards into an Iron Maiden and died. With that story told, the mayor abruptly takes a wrecking ball to the theater, which awakens Allusion, now Abracadaver, from his grave. Later that night, the girls watch an old zombie movie, unaware of what they are about to face. Abracadaver wreaks havoc across Townsville using real zombie magic. He turns people into playing cards and trees and a fire hydrant into a dog, and uses saws to cut into buildings. The mayor's hat is destroyed in one such incident, and he decides that he should call Haberdasher until Ms. Bellum tells him to call the girls. The girls, still frightened by their scary movie, race out into the night to confront Abracadaver. And once again, Ms. Bellum proves she should be in charge. Bellum for mayor, 2K24, please. Nervously, they confront him, and Abracadaver mistakes Blossom for the little girl from his last performance. Once again, full of rage, she pulls out a pocket watch and begins to hypnotize Blossom with it. Buttercup tells him to release her sister, and then punches him, scattering his body into pieces. Sorry to break up the act, she quips. Unfortunately, however, his arm is still floating in the air with the watch mesmerizing Blossom. Abracadaver is then able to reassemble his broken body and tosses Buttercup into a saw trap and Bubbles into a bag at the bottom of a fish tank. He then swings Blossom back and forth in a rainbow handkerchief in front of the Iron Maiden like a yo-yo for a bit, before throwing her in and the Iron Maiden slams shut, seemingly killing her the same way Allusion was. The narrator and the town's villains are horrified, thinking that the Powerpuff Girls have been defeated for good, when Abracadaver rips himself in half, revealing himself to be Blossom in disguise. Blossom frees her sisters and reveals to the townsfolk that Abracadaver is really the one in the Iron Maiden. When asked how they did it, they answer that it was magic. The narrator says he loves the voodoo that they do. So this episode also features a George Jetson cameo. I missed that upon rewatch, but I did see that in the wiki article. The girl with the bear bears a striking resemblance to the Powerpuff Girls, though we never see or hear from her again. Perhaps she was one of their ancestors? The Powerpuff Girls wiki calls the girl Anne, though I don't believe she's actually named in the episode. Abracadaver is voiced by Frank Welker, perhaps most well known as the voice of Fred Jones in Scooby-Doo, which is another series I'd love to do a podcast about. And so my question for the episode is, what would be your name for your villainous alter ego? And so mine is pretty much what I decided would be fun to have for my drag name, which will take a little bit explaining. So my cat is named Babby, but is short for Baba Yaga. So I thought it would be fun if I was Mama Yaga to go with Babby.
Okay, I maybe thought about this a little bit too much, so I have multiple answers. I went with your drag name, or your porn name, if I can say that. So it would be Cricket Schultz. But then I was thinking of what I do as a job. So I had Harbinger of Mail, which is kind of stupid, I guess, but... So then, Allusion, I took the owl, and I went with, alias, alimony, or alibi. Those are my answers, and I was just gonna say some stuff about, from the episode, the girls being scared of the zombies from the zombie movie again. Them being little girls, and having to take on these adult monsters. And I just was kind of wondering why Allusion could suddenly do actual magic now that he's a zombie, when before, they were just tricks of some sort.
Right.
And kind of almost looked more like a Tin Man or something to me than a zombie, but anyway.
Yeah, I was also sort of thinking, how was it that if he couldn't originally do magic, how was he able to be resurrected by the mayor, knocking over the theater? What happened there? I mean, he's a one-off villain. We never see him again, so that doesn't get answered. But I'm just
yeah, could he come back? Because he was crushed again in the Iron Maiden. I mean, is the Iron Maiden magic?
Yeah, maybe
of some sort?
I didn't think about that. But... Alright, so I think that is the end of our discussion for these episodes. Next week, we will be discussing Telephonies and Tough Love. So by the time you guys hear this, we will have probably put out our first episode, which, as we're recording this today, is June 6th. Tomorrow will be June 7th. And something I didn't realize when I picked that date is that it's actually the creator of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure's birthday is June 7th. I picked that date completely randomly. So that's kind of funny how that ended up.
Pretty cool.
So we should be on, as far as I know, pretty much any podcasting platform. I'm going to spend the day that comes out making sure that it is on everything. There's some sites you need to have an episode actually published first before it'll allow you to do that. So you may have to check back later. But it will also be on YouTube as well. So if you could, on your podcatcher of choice, subscribe, give us a rating, or on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe buttons, maybe leave a comment if you're feeling generous, and we will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.
Bye.